Welcome back, Skywalkers. Today, I want to take a minute to talk about Darth Revan and how I would go about reintroducing him into Star Wars canon. See, I think Darth Revan is secretly Tarre Vizsla. Now, if those names don't mean anything to you, that's okay. We're going to take a second to talk about who those characters are, what we know about them in canon and in Legends, and why I think they not only fit together as the same character, but they improve both characters to combine their stories. So, spoiler warning for Knights of the Old Republic, the video game, because we can't really talk about Revan's story without talking about the plot of that game. So, I am going to spoil it. But first off, TLDR on who these characters are. Tarre Vizsla was the first Mandalorian Jedi. He's the one who created the Darksaber. He went on to become Mandalore and lead the Mandalorian people. And when he died, the Darksaber was stored at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant until it was later liberated by members of House Vizsla. Darth Revan, well, all we really know in canon is that he's the namesake for the Sith Eternal Army's 3rd Legion. But in Legends, we know he was the Jedi who led the Jedi during the Mandalorian Wars, fell to the dark side, and was later redeemed and returned to the light. So why do I think that Darth Revan and Tarre Vizsla are the same person, or at least they should be? Well, first off, Revan isn't his real name. That's right, the child who would go on to be called Revan is never given a name, even in the books. He's just the child who will grow up to become Revan. So let's just start off with a mutual understanding. We will accept that his name is Tarre Vizsla, he was born Mandalorian, and the lightsaber that he created was the Darksaber. So far, so good. We accept all that, and we move straight into why this improves the character. Let's start off by talking about one of the most significant events in Revan's history, the Mandalorian Wars. We know that the Mandalorian Wars happened in some capacity because the Armorer brings them up in The Mandalorian, when she's talking to Din Djarin, she tells him about the great war between Mandalorians and Jedi, and we can only assume that this is to what she's referring. So, I'm just going to go ahead and port over what happened in Legends with just a couple of tiny tweaks. Basically, a group called the Mandalorian Neo-Crusaders take charge of Mandalore, and they start expanding into Republic territory. They're going to war with the planets, enslaving the people, so on and so forth. Well, the Jedi Council is at odds with itself as to whether or not they should get involved. Some of the Jedi feel that the Mandalorian are a menace and they have to take arms against them, and the other half feel that peace is the Jedi way and that they shouldn't get involved in the war. Well, Revan becomes one of the most vocal people for joining the war, and eventually he takes a group of Jedi Crusaders, and they call themselves the Revankists, and they join the war. Now, why is Revan so interested in joining the Mandalorian Wars in the first place? In Legends, the answer is kind of twofold. On the one hand, he's just very eager to test himself in battle. And on the other, the Mandalorians are a menace, and he considers this the right thing to do. And as noble as doing the right thing is, if we make him Mandalorian by birth, we give him a personal reason to be involved in this war. So if you take a look at the Mandalorian Neo-Crusaders, if you look at their armor, you can see that the color scheme and the design are very similar to Death Watch. So I say we lean into that a little bit. We make the Mandalorian Neo-Crusaders a proto-Death Watch, like the cultural foundation for what will eventually become Death Watch. So now they are essentially fanatics. So the reason that Tarre Vizsla, Revan, is so inspired to take up arms against them is because they are out there bastardizing his culture. They are out there spreading a false image of what Mandalorians are and what it means to be a Mandalorian. So now, it's not just that they're a menace, it's not just that they're hurting the Republic, it's that he wants to stand up against what they are making Mandalorians into. Revan is also known for his iconic Mandalorian face mask. In Legends, he got this mask when he and his Revankists landed on Cathar, a world devastated by the Neo-Crusaders. Apparently, the Neo-Crusaders believed that the Cathar had disrespected them during the Great Sith War and needed to be eradicated for that disrespect. One Mandalorian stood up against the Neo-Crusaders and was killed alongside almost all of the Cathar. Revan finds this mask, feels a vision about what happened to that Mandalorian and decides to wear that mask, take the name Revan, and says he will not remove that mask until the Mandalorian threat has been purged. Honestly, I like this story a lot. I say we keep it, and this is the moment when Tarre Vizsla becomes Revan. From there, we're going to stick pretty close to the established lore with just a few little changes along the way. During the war, Revan and Malak are going to start finding the star maps and delve a little deeper into the dark side. They're not going to fall yet, but they're curious, and we all know how dangerous that curiosity can be. Meanwhile, during the war, Revan is acknowledged for his tactical skill, he's made Supreme Commander of the Republic Army, and eventually he comes face to face with Mandalore the Ultimate. Now, he defeats him in a single combat duel, but he does so this time using the Darksaber. And this is the moment when the Darksaber becomes synonymous with power in the eyes of the Mandalorian people. This is a weapon unlike anything they've ever seen before, and it's used by a warrior with extreme strength to take down their leader, Mandalore the Ultimate. And so that moment is going to become iconic in the minds and hearts of the Mandalorian people. And that's why the Darksaber is going to be so important to them later on. From here, we're going to stick really close to the story of Knights of the Old Republic. With Mandalore the Ultimate's dying breath, he's going to tell Revan about a Sith Lord from the unknown regions who prompted him to start the Mandalorian Wars. Revan and Malak, being the overconfident Jedi that they are, decide to take their armies and race off into the unknown regions to find this Sith threat, but they don't tell anybody why they're going. In fact, they tell them that they're going to hunt down the rest of the Mandalorians, but that's a lie. And years later, they return from the unknown regions, calling themselves Darth Revan and Darth Malak, lords of a new Sith empire. But no one really knows what happened while they were gone. We know, but it's irrelevant to the story, so I'm just going to move on. Between their combat prowess and their seemingly infinite number of ships, Revan and Malak seem poised to take over the Republic in no time. That is until Malak decides to turn on Revan. While Revan is aboard a ship fighting a team of Jedi, Malak destroys the ship with the sole intention of killing his master and the Jedi aboard. Unfortunately for him, Revan survives. A Jedi named Bastila Shan takes a mortally wounded Revan to the Jedi Enclave on Dantooine. There, the Council decides, in a controversial move, to use the Force to wipe Revan's mind in a hope of returning him to the light side of the Force. They then, when he starts remembering some things, subtly manipulate him into retracing his old steps as Revan and finding the star maps that lead him to the Starforge, which is the source of Revan and Malak's infinite army. Revan reclaims his identity along the way, destroys his former apprentice, and saves the galaxy. And this is where we're going to break off from Legends and back into our own version of the story. His identity restored, his nemesis defeated, Revan begins to question his purpose. Having fallen so far to the dark side and becoming a Sith, he feels he can't be a Jedi any longer. So what remains? What is he? A Mandalorian. So he puts aside the name Darth Revan and returns to Mandalore. He plans to live out his days as Tarre Vizsla, protecting the ancient ways of Mandalore from corruption like the terrorist Neo-Crusaders. When he arrives, he learns that the people have erected a statue to him. They on Mandalore remember him as Tarre Vizsla, the hero of the Mandalorian Wars, wielder of the Darksaber. They name him Mandalore, their leader, and he lives out the rest of his days with his wife Bastila, bringing peace to the Mandalorian Empire. So how does the Darksaber end up on Coruscant at the Jedi Temple? Simple. Bastila returns it there after Revan's death. She feels like that's where it belongs. The Darksaber is more than just a relic for the Mandalorian people. She sees it as a symbol. It represents Revan and the Revancist movement, the hero of the Mandalorian Wars, the true savior of the Republic, a reminder to all Jedi that no matter how far you fall, you can always be redeemed. That legacy is Revan's, and it's represented in the Darksaber, and that's why she returns it to the Jedi Temple. So where would I tell this story? Season 3 of The Mandalorian. We don't know what Season 3 of The Mandalorian is going to be about yet, but I feel like it's a perfect breeding ground for stories about the history of the Mandalorian people and the Darksaber in particular. This is also a really cool way to discuss the Mandalorian Wars, the origins of Death Watch, and we also get to tell the story of Revan at the same time. These are all really cool things that could be explored, but that is a video for another day. For now, this is just how I would make Darth Revan canon again. Born a Mandalorian named Tarre Vizsla, raised a Jedi, created the Darksaber, and used it in the Mandalorian Wars to defeat the terrorist Neo-Crusaders. Then he fell to the dark side, became Darth Revan, but was redeemed, saved the galaxy once more, and then lived out the rest of his days on Mandalore in peace. So his legacy exists in two distinct forms. The Sith remember their warlord, Darth Revan, and the Mandalorians remember their savior, Tarre Vizsla. Which man is the real man? Which legacy is the truth? Well, what I told you was true, from a certain point of view. Questions, ideas for more content? Leave a comment down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more Star Wars content. Make sure to hit the bell so you never miss a thing. Follow me on Twitter at @OneJediStarKiller and follow along on TikTok for more bite-sized content at Jedi_Starkiller. And don't forget, may the Force be with you.